That was ridiculous. If you guys don't know, my name is Rich. I am our junior high and kids director here at Faith Family Church. Hope you guys, we're having some trouble popping that balloon. It's like Fight Club over there with that balloon. But we don't talk about what happens in the corner. I'm just kidding. But if you guys don't know, my name is Rich. I am the junior high and kids director here at Faith Family Church. Good morning. I hope you guys are having some fun. Now, if you guys don't know me, in a nutshell, I've been told that I'm a little bit nerdy, just a little bit. I'm kind of a nice guy. I'm really creepy when I have a mustache, and I don't know why I'm doing it, okay? I know it looks bad. You don't have to keep telling me. But I've also been told that I'm a little bit of an emotional guy, okay? I'm not somebody who puts on like a strong face. I'm very in tune with my emotions, which means if something's bothering me, I'm gonna let people know. If something changes and I didn't want it to change, I might get upset about it. It means, yeah, sometimes I do tear up at a Pixar movie. Come at me, okay? I'll fight you about it. Happy Feet, I remember Happy Feet when I was a kid. I cried so much during Happy Feet because he just wanted to dance. Not that I can dance, but he just wanted to dance. But I think sometimes because I tend to be a little bit more of an emotional guy, and it might have something to do with the amount of coffee I drink, but because I tend to be more of an emotional guy, it means sometimes I reach what I call like my snapping point. I reach the point where everything is just too much and I just snap because of it. I mean, maybe this sounds familiar to you guys, but there's certain days where it seems like there's just always more and more work. No matter how hard you work on this one thing, there's always something else that needs to happen, and you're trying your best to read your Bible because you want to be a good Christian, but you haven't for like a month, and then you're trying to hang out with this friend, but this friend needs your help, and now this friend's ignoring you, and you're trying to talk to this person, but they're ignoring you, and you're trying to work so hard to make everything happen, and no one even noticed that I'm wearing new shoes, and it's just so much, and you reach your snapping point, where all of a sudden there's just so many things happening at once, with family, with friends, with work, with schoolwork. There's so much happening at once that you just kind of snap. I think no matter who you are, no matter who we are, I can encourage you this morning that everyone reaches that snapping point. It's perfectly normal to feel like you've gotten to the end of yourself, like there's nothing more you can do, like you feel like everything is out of your control. That is a normal feeling, whether you are 5 or whether you are 105. Everyone reaches that point. But this morning, I'm here to tell you guys that throughout my life, I've seen that as I was growing up, and even like nowadays today, that was intense. Even nowadays today, I still see these people who, while I'm reaching my breaking point, while I'm reaching my snapping point, there's these other people who seem to be so chill, who seem to be so at peace. I'm freaking out about all the work I have to do, and they're like, you know what, man, we'll get it done. And if we don't, it's okay. We tried our best. And I look at those people, and sometimes, does anyone know someone like that? Like you're freaking out about your schoolwork, and you have somebody else who's like, don't worry about it, man. We tried our best. That's all we can do. Don't you just want to punch those people sometimes? You're like, yeah, but this goes on my permanent record. Like seriously, that's how you feel. That's the snapping point. Someone just reached it out there in the crowd today. But the thing is, I think that the snapping point, even though it's something normal, even though everybody will get to that point, I don't think it has to be something that's common. And I think that one thing in 2019 that we can learn is that even though we can reach a snapping point, we don't have to nearly as much. And one thing that'll help us with that is worship. Now, I know that worship is kind of this almost creepy word sometimes. I think for a lot of us, if you didn't grow up in church, and even if you did, the idea of worship can sound creepy. It sounds like something that you see in like a horror film that all the bad guys are doing. They're worshiping something. It sounds like something mystical and confusing, but Christians use that word all the time. What is worship? In a nutshell, to define worship for you, worship is just what you hold most dear in your heart. Worship is what you think is the thing that is the most important to you. And one thing I've found about worship is that what we worship owns us. The thing that we worship most begins to be the thing that has the most say in our lives. The thing that you hold most dear, the thing that you hold closely, it will be the thing that has the most say and the most sway in your life. So if you are so dedicated to needing to be in a relationship, then as soon as somebody gives you attention, you'll fall head over heels. And as soon as they don't answer that text back, you will be broken. Or as soon as you think that you have to be the best person playing Fortnite, you will consistently throw your controller across the room. Because I don't care who you are, you can't win every game. If you have to be the best, the smartest person at school, there will be a test that you fail. If you have to be the best person on a team, there will be a time where you get an injury or where you get benched. Whatever we worship in this life will control us. And there's only one thing that I've found that is the thing that if we worship, it never lets us down. It never ends. And that is Jesus. That's why in Christianity, we talk so much about worshiping God, about trusting in God, about relying on God. Those things, God is the only thing that will never let us down. Which brings me to a story in the Bible about two guys, Cain and Abel. Now, I think a few weeks ago, we talked about Adam and Eve. If you guys know anything about the Bible, you might have heard the story of Adam and Eve. Adam and Eve are the first two people that God makes. So God creates the earth. There's Adam and Eve. They're there now. And Adam and Eve, as time goes on, decide that they don't want earth to fall under God's rules. They want to try to make earth their own. They want to try to define what good and evil is. They want to say what they want to do with their life when they want to do it. Ultimately, they began to worship themselves, as weird as it sounds. They said, I can live my life and I don't need you to tell me what to do, God. Because of that, hate, anger, strife, sickness, disease, depression, all of that entered into the world because Adam and Eve opened the door for everything good and for everything evil. But as time went on, Adam and Eve had their first two kids, Cain and Abel, two really weird names. And we're gonna start in Genesis, I believe chapter 4, verse 3 or verse 4. Yes. So Cain and Abel, to give you some backstory before we read this verse, Cain is the firstborn. Any firstborns in here? Any firstborns? Firstborns? Yeah, firstborns. Any younger kids in here? Younger kids? Younger kids? All right, younger kids. Any only children in here? Any only children? All right, okay. When Cain and Abel are born, Cain is the firstborn. And Cain's name is actually the very first thing that Eve said when she gave birth to Cain. When Eve gave birth to Cain, she said, finally, I have gotten a son. Finally, I have gotten a boy. I have acquired a son who can help protect us. See, Cain's name means, and we can throw this up on the screen, sorry about this. Cain's name means I have acquired. Abel, on the other hand, so Cain, I think because his name is I must acquire, Cain takes on this personality of, I've got to work hard. I've got to make it happen. I've got to go and do my best. There's a lot riding on me. I'm very important. If it wasn't for me, none of this would be happening. I'm the oldest. I'm the first. I deserve, I must acquire, it rides on me. Cain gets this personality of kind of being a little bit of a snob. Abel, on the other hand, Abel's the second-born. And Abel's name just means breath. It means a breath. If we can do this morning, let's all breathe in and breathe out. Now, one more time, breathe in. Make sure you get it like past the halfway point in your stomach, like down into the depths of your lungs. One more time. And I wish some of you guys would have brushed your teeth a little bit longer this morning. But Abel's name means a breath. So whereas Cain is saying, it all relies on me, I'm the important one, I gotta get this done, I have to get this. Abel's that guy who says, I'm gonna try my best. But you know what, I know that I'm not that big of a deal. Not that I'm saying I'm not important, I'm definitely gonna work hard, I'm not gonna slack off, but at the end of the day, I'm gonna leave my work at work, I'm gonna leave my stress out there, I'm gonna go home, I'm gonna take a breath, I'm gonna relax, and everything's gonna be okay. Abel means a breath. Now we see Cain and Abel in chapter 4, verse 3. And the two of them, as time goes on, we see their personalities continue to unfold. And we see that in verse 3 and 4, that at harvest time, the time of the year when you're getting the most out of your work, It's customary back in those days that they would bring a sacrifice to God. They would say, God, you have blessed us. We're going to go ahead and we're going to give you a gift. We're going to worship you through giving you something. And we see that in verses 3 and 4. At harvest time, Cain brought a gift to the Lord. He brought some of the food that he grew from the ground. But Abel brought some animals from his flock, and he brought the best of them, and he brought the best parts of them. The Lord accepted Abel and his gift, but he did not accept Cain and his gift. Now, why? Is God just picking favorites for favorites' sake? I think the reason why, and not even I think, I know the reason why Cain was accepted and Abel wasn't, is because Cain's personality began to spill into his worship. When it came time for Cain to worship, God didn't care if he brought him fruit or not. It's not that God's not about that vegan life. It's not about that God isn't a vegetarian. God would have accepted any gift. It's that Cain's heart wasn't in his worship. Cain even began to say, in order for me to have enough, in order for me to make enough, in order for me to be enough, I'm gonna have to start cutting some corners. And that means I'm a big deal. I can't just go and give God stuff. I can't afford to give God a gift. I can't afford to give God my time. I can't afford to do this. I'm just gonna go, here, I'm gonna throw something together. Here you go, God. I gotta get back to work. Got some important stuff. I'm a big deal. You know, a lot's riding on me right now. So there you go. You enjoy that. Whereas Abel, his heart was in his worship. And he said, God, I'm gonna give you this because I know that I'm not that big of a deal, but that you are. I can't do that much on my own, but thank you so much that you're here to help me when I reach the end of myself. Abel's heart was in his worship, Cain's was not. And we see that Cain's heart continues to decay at that point. And continuing on in this verse, we see that God notices that Cain's beginning to change. When you're not worshiping the right thing, people notice. People notice the stress. They notice the anxiety. They notice for guys a lot, anger that comes from your heart not being in the right place. And God says to Cain, why are you angry? Why does your face look sad? Why does your face look like you're about to explode? You know that if you do what's right, if your heart's in the right place, I'll accept you. But if you don't, sin is just waiting to attack you. And it wants to control you, but you must control it. This is God's last warning. This is his last time of saying, if you don't get your heart right, if you don't stop thinking that everything just revolves around you, if you don't start worshiping, you're gonna see bad things happen. And Cain doesn't listen. Again, he gets jealous and he says, I do all the work. I'm the big deal. I've done all of this and it's not working. I've done all this work. I've acquired all this money. I've done all of this for my family and it's not working. God just doesn't love me. I'm trying so hard. You know, it's probably Abel's fault. Of course God would love Abel. He doesn't do anything. He's such a slacker. And the story continues until finally in verse 8, we see Cain say to his brother, hey Cain, why don't you come, or hey Abel, why don't you come on over to my house? Come on over to my field. Come on over, we'll hang out for a little bit. And the story ends with Cain murdering his brother Abel. I know, surprise, gasp. Dun, dun, dun. Very first murder in the Bible. And it happens because one of the very first brothers born thinks that his life is all about what he can acquire, what he can get. Guys, if I have to say, I think when we look at a story like this, especially because it ends with a murder, so often we think, oh yeah, I'm the Abel in this story. I would never be like Cain. I would never be so stressed like Cain. I would never think that everything hinges on me like Cain. But guys, I have to say that even for myself, I'm Cain in this story. I wish I could be Abel, but more often than not, I find myself being Cain. I find myself saying, I don't have time to read my Bible this morning. I gotta go. I don't have time to spend time worshiping God. All of my friends, they're getting on in a few minutes. I don't have time to help you. I've got a lot going on in my life. I can't give you extra time. I can't give you extra attention and love. I can't give you my heart right now, okay? I'm too busy. Here, I'll go to church and I'll kind of look at the speaker when he talks. Cool, that'll work, right? I think more often than not, I tend to be a Cain. I think we tend to be Cains. We tend to think that our lives come down to what you've got. And I don't just mean possessions, not just what you've got, meaning what you own, but what you've got meaning who you are, what you're good at, what you're bad at, how much work you can do, what you can provide, what you bring to the table. We think our lives we deserve what we put in, that we are what we've got, that if my life stinks, it's because I must deserve it. That if I'm no good, it's because if I'm no good at this, it's because I'm no good. If my family's falling apart, it's probably my fault. We think that we are what we've got, and we reach breaking points so quick. Because you know what? In the scale of things, we are one person on a world filled with, 9 billion people, in a galaxy that's continuing to expand. We are so small. And if we think that all of our existence depends on what we've got, yeah, you'll break a lot. Because you can't be all that. We have to be more like Abel. Abel understood, I think from the time he was born, that the thing that allowed him to take a breath, the thing that allowed him to not snap, the thing that allowed him to live his life was that he understood that his life isn't what he's got, it's who's got him. And we have to do the same thing. We have to understand that our life comes down to understanding who's got us. Because if we think it's our responsibility to carry all of our stress, all of our pain, all of our work, all of our trouble, all of our family situations, all of our mental situations, all of our future, all of our past, if we think that's all our responsibility, you'll crumble pretty quick. But if you can begin to come to the understanding, and the worship team can come down, if you can begin to get to the understanding that it's not about what you can do, it's about understanding whose you are. It's about understanding that you can't fix this problem, but you serve a God who can. It's about understanding that you might be stressed out, but you serve a God who says he'll give you peace. You might be trapped in a problem, but you know that you serve a God who says he's the answer and he'll give you a straight path to walk on. That you might be full of anger and anxiety, but you have a God who says that he'll give you all the fruits of the Spirit: love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, gentleness, faithfulness, and self-control. When you understand that all of existence doesn't hinge on you, but that you are someone who God owns, who Jesus died for, who is treasured by God. When you understand that life is so much more than yourself, I think you'll find more often than not that when stressful situations happen, when you say everything's falling apart, you might be able to stop and say, but wait, I don't know how, but I know that God can get me through this. That's why we worship. Worship is continually us stopping ourselves and saying, God, I'm gonna remind myself that you are so much bigger than me. You're so much bigger than all my problems. You're so much bigger than everything I'm going through. And even more than that, you can get me through them. I'm gonna pause, and I'm gonna take a breath, knowing that I've done what I can do, and I'm gonna trust that you can do the rest.